This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is the Handicappers Report.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers Report. Alongside Seth Merrill, I am Anthony Mormino. The last full week of non-Saratoga until sometime in September, as it were. As I said, the oddest thing for me to get over, Seth, is we just celebrated Independence Day and talked about it before. It used to be about 3.5 weeks before I'd have to get ready for opening day on a Wednesday at Saratoga. Now you got about a week before entries come out. So it's the new world order. I guess I like it. Just you have to arrange your schedule. But I'm anticipating, I don't know, sometime next Monday maybe we can get to work on the opening day races at Saratoga on the Friday after that. But 12 days left to opening day at Saratoga, and we just did the taping of Horses and Courses, and another gigantic weekend in racing. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Only 11,000 at Belmont for Saturday, which was a great day of racing. But boy, a big day yesterday up at Woodbine. Mark Casse finally breaks through and wins the Queen's Plate with the filly. Lexi Liu, who was very nice. Good weekend of racing down at Delaware. They had the fillies, whether on the turf or the Delaware Oaks. Maybe we'll get something out of there for the Alabama. And Saturday night, boy, I think it flew completely under the radar screen. And I said this before, Seth, and you're in the world of website, equidaily.com. But if you run a race on Saturday night, whatever it is, you could go to bloodhorse.com or someplace. You don't get an update. It's like they all go to bed and there's no update. And I thought it was, I just think the world of Shared Belief talent-wise. And now it looks like he's going to the Pacific Classic. But when Shared Belief is making his dirt debut, and Candy Boy, who, yes, me and some guy that bet $1 million on him, is making the first starts from the Derby, I thought that was a big race, and you could have missed it, I think. If you woke up Sunday morning, it was hard to find the results. So the race went off at 8:30 East Coast time, but Shared Belief, just another tour de force performance as he once again hands Candy Boy his lunch. That was Saturday night at Los Alamitos in the Los Alamitos Derby. So great weekend of racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Shared Belief story, I think, adds a little. And Mike, I thought it immediately after the race, and Mike Watchmaker wrote it in his column, adds a little intrigue to this 3-year-old divisional title now. Yeah, I think Shared Belief kind of would have to run the table, kind of a situation. But again, California Chrome not sweeping the Triple Crown opens the door a little bit, as Watchmaker said. Horses that win the Derby and the Preakness typically win the Eclipse, but it kind of opens things up. I think all we have to do is look back at that 3-year-old filly division last year, where a late season surge got the crown, and so I think things are a little bit interesting there, and it was going to be interesting for me. But as you said, they've announced Pacific Classic, where they would go next, and my thinking was kind of, do you want to go to the Travers and get a real 3-year-old mainstay on your resume? But I started thinking, you know what? They could, yeah, you beat the Elders, but he's also going to get a shot at California Chrome, the top 3-year-old. And if you beat the top 3-year-old, that's a good spot, because California Chrome isn't going to come east. He's going to be out there. So I think he can stick out in Southern California and still do himself well in a chase for a title. But that was very good on the weekend. Boy, it was, as you say, I thought the two grass stakes, the Oaks and the Derby at Belmont, new additions there, were very interesting, with the Europeans getting beaten, and Shug McGahee. And that, again, we talk about it all the time. Field size and competitive races. There were upsets in both of them, but they were Breeders' Cup kind of upsets, in that Mr. Speaker was a 9-to-1 shot. It's different than a 9-to-1 shot on a Thursday in the third race. He was a horse that legitimately, you could have jumped on the horse and used it. Shug McGahee on the turf, a horse that had been a proven stakes performer on the turf. It was a tough competitive field, and so pari-mutuel wagering means they're going to be favorites and they're going to be long shots. But like the Breeders' Cup, sometimes the long shots are very good horses. It's just the way it works out. And I think Mr. Speaker was one of those, and there was a few others bouncing around on the weekend.
Clearly Now was the performer of the weekend.
Oh, absolutely.
Even more than Shared Belief. Yeah. To me, it was Clearly Now. and shared belief. And I've said this before. The 3-year-old colt division, I was saying to Jeff Carl yesterday, it's the only division that you can have locked up on May 17th. Because to me, he doesn't have it locked up. And the thing about Beholder, though, is she had 2 Grade 1 races early in the year at her 3-year-old campaign. She had already had the Grade 1s.
But when Princess of Silmar won up at Saratoga, people were saying it was done. They had put that eclipse in the books. I think everybody, I think even West Coast people had put that one in the books at that point, because you couldn't see that late season surge coming. You just had no idea Beholder was going to come back and kind of run the way she did.
Well, I think it was made by, if Princess of Silmar had stayed to her word and didn't go to the Breeders' Cup, which, by the way, I disdain that idea. I've always said this about Rachel Alexandra and Holy Bull. They were healthy and voluntarily never ran in the Breeders' Cup, which gets double demerits from me. And when they were talking about not going, I'm like, listen, this is the championship that we have defined. And when they signed up they were going, I'm like, she is about to get her clock clean, and people are going to have to realize that Beholder has multiple Grade 1 victories. But I think the 3-year-old colt division, I'm against it because, Seth, I do think it is locked up. I talk about how many voters watch racing 7 days out of the year. But Shared Belief, I think, is the best 3-year-old in the country. I think he got about 105 Buyer speed figure. And if you watch the race, he didn't look to be breathing hard. Well, his dirt debut.
I mean, I think he'd have to run the table probably, but I think running the table would wake up a lot of people. I mean, you get the Pacific Classic,
and the Breeders' Cup Classic isn't enough to.
And the Breeders' Cup Classic, and you would think,
races.
even in the 21st century, you would think, and they'll have that. You would think the prep at Santa Anita as well. So you run another 3 races off against older horses. Now that said, we're putting the cart before the horse. That's a lot still to do. Yeah. But if he could do that, and also if he could do that, I was interested to know Los Alamitos. There's $1 million bonus for any horse that sweeps the Los Al Derby, the Pacific Classic, and the Breeders' Cup Classic. So, and I said last week I didn't really see anybody that had that potential except maybe Shared Belief. But the way he did it on Saturday, yeah.
Well, I would say, to me, I think the Pacific Classic would be a much bigger race than the Preakness on your resume. I mean,
for me, absolutely. Well, let's see what the field is, but yeah, you go out and you beat older horses.
Like a borderline grades 2 or 3. I mean, I always tell people I don't need the name. Clearly now won a Grade 3 sprint race. It was a Grade 1 race to me. I mean, I don't need the North American Stakes Committee to tell me what tough races are. The Preakness, I've said to you before, my main thing about the schedule change is to make the Preakness a better horse race. It could be better, but it was a great weekend, and kudos.
Also another nice 3-year-old performance. Kid Cruz is really turning out to be nice.
I tell you one thing, I felt bad for Captain Sirius because I thought the New York bred was home.
He's a nice horse too. I said it after that last race. I said this is going to turn out to be a very nice New York bred 3-year-old.
He ran a winning race and just got beat. If you didn't see it, he looked. Boy, I'll tell you, you would have taken. They were 7-10. You might have taken 30 cents on the dollar at about the 3.16.
And I wonder, I haven't read. I wonder where they'll go with him. Do they bounce into the Albany, or do they stay in open? Clearly he's capable of open competition. So
the Dwyer was nice, a great 3, but a great weekend, and it was a little disappointing. Only 11,000 at Belmont, but I think this
day and age, 11,000 is a pretty good crowd for them.
No one goes to the races except the big day, which I've said to you before, which is what just throttled my brain that Santa Anita invested so much money that people were going to actually go to the racetrack. But we'll see. It's we'll see with the 3-year-old fillies if that championship is wrapped up. I think the 3-year-old colt division, based on how people vote, could be wrapped up. But a good performance. And I thought it was Candy Boy was okay too. His run out was nice. Now you have to understand I'm a Candy Boy fan, so maybe I didn't see it right, but we'll see how he moves forward.
Well, that also was the nice thing about that race. Yeah, Shared Belief won, first start on dirt, but it was not a field of tomato cans. The Baffert horse, I think, is an okay horse, but Candy Boy certainly is. And so for the first running out there at Los Alamitos, they
got him.
Yeah, they had a pretty good event.
It was nice. It was a terrific weekend, and now just one weekend of racing before Saratoga. And the one interesting thing, in case you missed it yesterday, my chance to just keep the ball rolling at Monmouth. I get beat in the 12th race. The finale at Monmouth yesterday was the United Nations Stakes. I thought Twilight Eclipse was home for a brief moment. And Main Sequence won. And you know what was funny for me? That was Graham Motion and Rajiv Murrah, which was even more ironic. They retired Ruler on Ice the other day. You remember, Rajiv Murrah was the one that wiped out Animal Kingdom in the Belmont at the start, and then you see a couple years later that Grand Motion rides Rajiv Murrah and beats me. Twilight Eclipse, I thought, ran a great race, but was only second best.
I feel for the West Point partners in Twilight Eclipse, because that's the second time they had the race just like that up at Saratoga last year, where I'm sure that, I know it's Saratoga, I was standing behind them watching on the TV in the clubhouse at Saratoga. They thought they were home free in that one, and it was the same situation on
I felt differently that day. I love Big Blue Kitten. I was pretty sure I had him measured after the 3 turns.
Oh man, that was it. So yeah, that was it. That was certainly a tough beat. And just before we get into the handicapping, one more race. And the weekend was a mix of some logical stuff and some head scratchers. The biggest head scratcher, though, wasn't here. It was over in the UK on Saturday. The Fugue runs poorly. Verrazano runs poorly. Night of Thunder runs poorly. Boy, that one in the Coral Eclipse, which was an incredible grade 1 over there, and none of the real contenders ran well in that race. And they all, the connections, all of them came out and kind of blamed the ground, which was a little bit, they had some rain, so the ground was a little bit soft over there. But that was a shot that the Fugue ran so poorly. And well, Verrazano was last, so that was a bad effort too after he ran so well at Royal Ascot.
Yeah, the thing for me, you know, just like at Parks this afternoon, second race off layoffs, I'm just not a fan of it. Unless there's a serious amount of time, especially when you run big, which Verrazano did off the retirement bench, I would almost say. So, but the Fugue, you know, she just I do not like to give excuses for horses that I like, because it sounds so juvenile almost, but she shows up all the time, so I'm more apt to give the ground credence that it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, and I have the replay of the race coming up on Racing Across America, and you'll see in the stretch, the lane, nobody really makes up any ground. So that makes you pause and kind of think there was something to the running that day, that nobody is really kind of making a run late. All right, we'll shift our attention out to the handicapping. I have Finger Lakes for a little later on, but we'll kick things off with the yeah, I have Finger Lakes, but we're going to kick things off with Parks for Monday afternoon. Opener today at Parks, a conditional claimer, $7,500 tags. Non-winners are 2 lifetime the condition. They will travel 1.70 miles.
And I knew I was in trouble field size when it was 19 pages. So that transfers into 10 sheets, ladies and gentlemen. 263 as we kick it off with a field of 6. And down inside, a couple races back, a $7,500 claim for Quiddo Kid. Most recently, a good third-place finish going 7/8. Now stretches out to the 2 turns, draws down inside. I like the race profile at a 5-to-1 shot, so the Deuce, Quiddo Kid, my top pick. For second, the outside horse, but not that far outside, the number 6, Raven's Tail, 9-to-5 on here for a horse who is 1 for 19 at Parks lifetime, but in the 18 losing efforts, 8 of them a runner-up and 3 third-place finishes. Comes out of it off the board, placing at 7-2, going 1 mile. That was the first start since early May when it was runner-up. Now I think Scott Lake's runner makes a slight move forward, but at a horse who's 1 for 19 and 8 runner-ups, short price, a little tough to take on top. For third, number 3, Spricket. Good effort off of a light freshening, came back in June, then followed up 3 weeks later and had a good second place finish. Comes back at the same level. Frankie Pennington Jr. takes the mount this afternoon. 263 in the opener from Parks.
Race number 2 this afternoon, a $5,000 claimer, 3-year-olds and up, going 1.70 miles.
247, ladies and gentlemen, the Deuce, my top pick once again. A good effort, although did finish off the board, but that was at 14-to-1. As I say, I'm not very forgiving at short price horses coming back, especially when they're the favorites. So we weren't on June 16th. We're not going to be this afternoon. 5 for 14 lifetime at Parks. We draw a good post position for this offspring of Rock Hard 10. For a second, number 4 going out. First off, the $7,500 claim for Alfredo Velasquez. I like the most recent effort going 5.5 now to stretch out because it was a sprint race. The pace was just too hot, but this horse held on better than most. For third, number 7, Power Emblem, making the first start since March 28th for Juan Vasquez. Training for Juan Vasquez. 2, 4, 7. When is that suspension supposed to kick in? Like
Well,
January 1st?
Yeah, he's appealed, so
Well,
there's no telling. There is no telling. The third race this afternoon at Parks, a maiden claimer, 20 to 25,000. These are 3, 4, and 5-year-olds going 5.5.
And I found this to be an intriguing race this afternoon. By the way, Seth, we didn't work together yesterday, and I know you were taking a little R&R. Did you happen to see the New York bred juvenile stakes race that had 6 entered, 3 first-time starters, and one of the 3 that had run was a maiden? I'm like, who is clamoring for this race? But it's 6-4-2 for me. Late start is a first-time starter for Guadalupe Preciado, who is 10 to 1 on the morning line. Now, the Preciado clan is, I mean, they're very well known. I don't know if we're going to get 10 to 1. I didn't know Guadalupe Preciado is a 20% first out starters. Now, that's a limited field size of only 19. Jumpstart, a solid stallion, so I would be happy to take the 10 to 1 right now, my top pick, the 6. For a second, 2 over, Gris Hombre going out for the second career start after Jackie Davis rode this horse in the debut at better than 20 to 1. A nice even debut going 6 furlongs. Now comes back for the same tag price, drops down half a furlong. For third, number 2, Oscar Mystic going out for Ramon Preciado off of 3 consecutive hit the board finishes. Once again in the realm I'm not very forgiving. Lost as the 3-2 favorite most recently by a neck with Roberto Alvarado Jr. in the saddle, who gets the call once again. 6-4-2.
Fourth race at Parks this afternoon, a calendar condition claimer, $7,500 tags, 3-year-olds and up, going a mile.
3-5-2 my selections in here, and Cat's Hope is a big price on the morning line at 12 to 1 in here for a runner who comes off of a victory going a mile 70. That was in the claiming $5,000 dated, now goes in for $7,500. We need to pair up 2 big races in a row for classification horses that don't often do that. But when I looked at the other 5, I'm like, boy, I tell you, I'd rather have a horse in very sharp form now, wishing to replicate it at double-digit odds versus the other wishing I could do. For second, number 5, I love it. Horse has been popular at the claim box. Comes out of a route sprint because it's 2 turns at 7.5 furlongs, but more of a dirt runner with good success, including a victory at Parks 3 races back. Very impressively, the race on Memorial Day that this horse was claimed from. For third, number 2, Joe Bag of Donuts. Now, it's not relevant anymore, but this 8-year-old was a June foal, which is extremely, extremely rare and unwanted in North American racing. You're basically always behind your peers. Well, now at 8 years of age, it's immaterial. Been running consistently well of late at Parks, rooting 3-5-2.
The fifth this afternoon at Parks is a maiden special weight event. These are 3-year-olds, and they will travel 3/4 of a mile.
And when I saw the paper being printed out for me, I made a subtle assumption that this would be 2-year-olds. You only got 6 going in. Then I looked up, I said, no, it's for 3-year-olds. And it's 1-6-5 for me. And Nile Seeker, I find it very difficult to believe that 6 to 1 is going to hold up here unless word is out on one of the 3 first-time starters who are right next door in the starting gate, because this is Guadalupe Preciado, second career start, hit the board in the debut, albeit beaten nearly a dozen, gets Lasix for the second career start, draws the rail, nice works since the debut. Pioneer of the Nile off to a good start as a stallion. I'll take Nile Seeker on top. For second, number 6, Thoroughbred Fuel. The outside runner debuted on the Ides of March, finished second behind an easy 8.25 length winner at 5-2. Now gets Lasix for the second career start. And for third, here you go, folks. This isn't as popular as my less well angle, but I guess I would call it the Unforgiven, which is you lose at 6-5. Yes, you run second, and you do get Lasix today and you're going out for Kelly Breen, who I think had a first out winner yesterday, but boy, I'll tell you, already lost at 6-5. Paco Lopez gets them out, and if you've seen Paco Lopez riding for Eddie Plista Jr. over at Monmouth, having a 30% meet, now riding on his off days at Parks, 165 in the fifth.
All right, we'll head to our first break. When we come back, we'll complete our look at Parks and a little later on Finger Lakes. Stay tuned.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
Summer at Saratoga, and there's no better place to watch all the racing action than right here on OTB TV. Each morning, the Handicappers Report brings you selections and analysis from our professional handicappers. Then stick around as the biggest names in racing join us live from the backstretch. The top trainers, jockeys, and racing personalities all share their unique insights and observations. For more than 20 years, there's been just one place to turn for unparalleled coverage of the Saratoga Racing Meet, Capital OTB and OTB TV.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to capitalotb.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. capitalotb.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report on this Monday morning. We'll continue our look at Parks, race number 6 today. Starter handicap, $16,000 level. They're on the Philly Parks grass at 1 1/8 miles.
And we appreciate that. We get 8 in here, ladies and gentlemen. An actual 3-pager. 8, 1, and 3, my selection. And going to the outside, I at 10-1, I guess it indicates maybe I have a sneaky horse here. Hello, Abraxan, going out off of 2 sharp races off of the wintertime non-turf racing season off. This horse ran on October 18th to wrap up last season. And the 2 efforts this year, May 15th at Pimlico, followed by June 1st at Pimlico, both sharp efforts. And the most recent one, starting from an outside number 12 post position. Now we draw the 8 as the outside post position off of 2 good races. Now, we are making the Parks turf debut, and you know, there's been much, I've heard much about the Parks turf course, but boy, I'll tell you, at 10-1 with Luis Garcia on the board, I am very comfortable taking Hello Abraxan number 8 as my top pick. Double-digit odds coming off of 2 solid races, and there seems to me to be more than enough time. We're talking about 35 days off since the second start after good race on good race. I think plenty of time for the recycling into a good performance and hopefully slightly better than the 2 previous in 2014. For a second, the other side of the starting gate, number 1, Sailors Creek, an offspring of Bernstein. He has Frankie Pennington in the saddle. This horse won on the Parks turf 2 races back in the second start. Is going to be, I think, clearly the horse to beat in this race for me. And for third, number 3, Citizen Cat. This horse was claimed for 12.5 from Jim Ryerson and has had good dirt efforts. Goes to the turf for only the second time, who is an offspring of Proud Citizen, who I think is a sneaky upper-level stallion. 8-1-3.
7th race this afternoon is an allowance non-winners of 1 other than for 3-year-olds and up, going 8 furlongs.
2-5-3, my selections. Number 2, Gray, Big, Bad, Like Dad. My top pick for Ramon Preciado, the offspring of Macho Uno. Draws a good post position here for the mile race. Won 3 races back That was off of the November freshening, won a starter allowance. Subsequent to that, had back-to-back fourth-place finishes at this level. Now, they were good physical efforts. The competition was just a little bit too tough, but maybe today is the day for us. For second, number 5, Rap Dioro, going out for Mike Hushin, who almost had the New York bred home in the Dwyer, the offspring of, you could probably guess it, Medaglia Dioro, shipping in off of a Belmont restricted 3L, claiming victory. And for third, number 3, going out Pontus, who's claimed for $25,000 at Parks. Followed that up with a poor effort. Now we'll see if we can bounce back. Third race off of a freshening, 2, 5, and 3.
8th race this afternoon, and allowance non-winners of one other than 3-year-olds and up, going a mile.
1, 3, 2. I don't know if this is a Chicago Bull or a basketball fan. I presume MJ plus. Anytime I see MJ, I just think of Michael Jordan over the last 30 years. Second place finishes heaped on top of second place finishes 4 in a row after a couple victories in a row. A sharp 20 starts lifetime at Parks, 11 exacta finishes, with 4 of them being W's. We draw the rail here. That's just enough for me at a non-favorite role after a couple of nose defeats for second. Like I said, if MJ Plus was looking at being 6-5 on the board, price is everything to me. 4-1 on the morning line, and the rail post might be just enough to turn the tide in the final running position. For second, number 5, Caliparty, going out, trying to make it 3 victories in a row. Frankie Pennington's been aboard for the 2 starter allowance victories at Parks, now steps up to entry-level allowance. For third, in between my exacta, number 2, Magic Harbor. The question to be asked is the last race performance where we were claimed out. By far, the performance of the career, one off by a pole, getting a 94 Beyer speed figure. If they replicate it, this horse is going to be heck to pay. But I'm thinking a slight regression. Don't know where that race came from. 1, 3, 2.
The 9th race this afternoon at Parks, a state-bred allowance event. These are Pennsylvania-bred 3-year-olds and up, scheduled on the grass, mile and 70.
And wrapping it up, quick note, number 3 is an MTO, so we're looking at 10 on the turf. 2, 7, and 6. Incisive Strike, to me, is one of the most live horses on the board today. But I can't see half of the 12-1 morning line. I'm more than happy to sign up for 8 right now, but at 12-1 on the morning line, this is just a powerful runner, an offspring of the great Smart Strike with Paco Lopez in the saddle. This will be the 4th start of the year, has gotten the sea legs going. The most recent efforts have been in starter handicap races. I think this is a softer spot. Number 2, Incisive Strike, my top pick. For second, number 7, Fest Up, going out for the 3rd start since August. Hit the board in the first 2, has had 35-plus days to recover from the 2nd start in starter allowance. For third, number 6, Rob the Bank. A nice victory at a state-bred non-winners and one over at Penn National. That was in the 3rd start of the year. Now we'll see how this offspring of Fairbanks transfers the Penn National good form to Parks. But I think this is a very intriguing race with the deuce on top. 2, 7, and 6 from Parks in the finale.
All right, we'll take our next break. When we come back, a look at Finger Lakes for Monday afternoon. Stay tuned. I'm Seth Merrill. Join me weekdays at 10 for Racing Across America. We'll look at important races from around the country, get insight from top handicappers and analysts, and preview the upcoming week in racing. That's Racing Across America, weekdays at 10, right here on the OTB TV network.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. With a newly designed and engineered internet wagering platform, enhanced video streaming, additional funding options, and 3 new individual wagering opportunities, CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. Combine that with our all-new mobile website. You have 2 of the most powerful, innovative, and advanced wagering platforms available today. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB television network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrill. I am Anthony Mormino on this beautiful, beautiful Monday afternoon. We didn't mention, we just talked about it off the air now. Boy, I tell you, South Florida, from my youth, is a complete 180 where Calder used to carry the water for about 7 months when there was a Hialeah, and then about 9 months when there was no Hialeah. Poof. Grandstand getting knocked down, and now Gulfstream Park will carry the water in South Florida. Boy, you talk about flipping things over, boy. That is a complete reversal
and we'll see
of
how,
my youth.
We'll see how it works. The Gulfstream organization is going to be conducting the racing at the Calder plant now. So it's obviously better than the head-to-head situation, but long-term, how will it work out? It certainly takes the specialists off what they're now calling the championship meet. And so how will that work out, over the course of the long run? We'll see.
On to Finger Lakes on this beautiful Monday. The opener, Maiden Claimers in for 75, racing a mile 70.
6, 5, 1, and 2. The number 6 is Unbridled Bear. Interesting horse. This horse purchased at a 2-year-old sale by the Bear Stables. They had a couple of runners up in the Queen's Plate. They are players up there in Canada. Went out for trainer Reed Baker, one of the big trainers up there as well, and works for Bear Stables. But they paid $300,000 for this horse at a 2-year-old sale. Ran up at Woodbine for them in a couple of races in Maine Special Weight Company. Didn't show much. They dropped the horse in for a tag at Gulfstream back in 2013. Claimed. Moved into the barn of Linda Rice. Linda Rice ran the horse Gulfstream and then the Naira circuit, and she decided, you know what, not living up to my expectations either. Let's move up to Finger Lakes. They dropped in for a 7,500 tag. Again, this horse was purchased for $300,000 and claimed out of that 7,500 race at Finger Lakes, which was a decent second-place finish after showing some early foot. So I think this horse, having run well in a similar event last time, showed some speed, got some education over the track, and moves into the barn off the claim of high percentage Finger Lakes trainer Chris Engelhart. Master of the obvious here, even money on the morning line, but I think Unbridled Bear probably the one to beat. Number 5, Marlin's Wonder in the second spot. Had some early oomph at this level last time, was running second for a lot of the race and then faded late. That was over a muddy seal track. I think numbers-wise, this horse fits into this bunch pretty well. So again, on the numbers and having shown a little bit of punch early last time when dropped to this 7,500 level, we'll look for this one to last a little longer today. And then I just went with the fresh face and what is otherwise a fairly weak field, the number 1, Red Ice. This is a 4-year-old first-time starter. Usually that would scare me away a little bit, but again, it's a weak field. I think there's maybe a little bit of breeding. This is a horse that has been working down at Belmont, so obviously it's interesting that they ship up to Finger Lakes for the career debut. And as I say, usually a 4-year-old debuter I'd shy away a little bit, but I shied away from the 6-year-old debut runner a couple of weeks ago, and that one won for fun, so who knows? But again, in a weak field like this, it does not have to be a world beater. So in the opener at Finger Lakes, 6, 5, 1, and 2.
Boy, this is something I don't see very often at Finger Lakes. Fillies and mares, optional claimers in for 10, start allowance for 5, a mile and an 8.
Yeah,
that should be like a marathon.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the same thing as I handicapped the race. It's a little bit different. Mile and 70, they're plugged in.
They don't even run the New York Derby at a mile and 8.
4, 1, 3, and 6. Beautiful Risk on top, and just gets the nod on the recent numbers. A couple of well, actually, we're going back 4 starts, all high 60 buyer figures. 4 starts at Finger Lakes, so it's shown an affinity for the track, being in the exact end, all 4 of those starts. So again, I think this horse is in some good form, and on the numbers as compared to the rest of the field, just logical. Beautiful Risk on top. Second spot, the number 1, Great Press. Came back going as well as when she left, so now has a 3-race win streak that goes back to November. A couple of wins in November, and then, as I said, the comeback effort on June 26th was also a win. They were all front-end wins. Certainly will be sent from the gate and going what is maybe a little bit of a marathon out there at Finger Lakes. May just lull them to sleep on the front end. So Great Press looks a little bit interesting and dangerous. And then the number 3, Moe's Mishap. Well behind my top pick, Beautiful Risk, last time, but I think this horse fits with the rest of the field. So once you get past that one and maybe number 1, Great Press, Moe's Mishap is just the direction that made most sense for me to go in that 3rd spot. In the second race today at Finger Lakes, 4, 1, 3, and 6.
And it looks as though entries will be drawn on Tuesday, the 15th, so I won't be working on it a week from today. So Tuesday, so I guess best case scenario, late Tuesday night, you get working on the open.
Yeah, as you said that, I wondered if they would draw before they left New York, but it now seems like they're probably going to wait, travel day and draw on Tuesday.
Yeah, so that's what they're going to do. So race number 3, Phillies Claimers in for 7,500. Non-winners of 2 races in a lifetime, racing the mile.
1, 2, 3, and 6. The number 1 is Brickhouse Baby. This horse has some back numbers that absolutely fit with this bunch and might rebound to those numbers on the class drop. Obviously, the last 2 races, those numbers don't quite stack up. But boy, you go back to the NYRA races. Again, this horse has numbers. You just don't quite know which direction to go. But there wasn't anything else I found compelling in the field. So we're looking at this horse, again, to rebound to some competitive numbers versus this bunch with the class relief in here. Second spot, the number 2, Destiny's Mystery. Comes right back after what may be a breakthrough effort last time. This horse had raced at the 75 level last year, an okay 4th there, but dropped down to the 7,500 maiden claiming level last time. Most of the career has been spent going against better. So again, that last one at 6-5, nice win, looked like potentially a breakthrough effort. And sometimes when that happens, they can string a couple together. So we'll see in this race if Destiny's Mystery can get it done. And then Tassanea, on the numbers and this horse having raced earlier on the NYRA circuit, this horse kind of fits, and I may have been actually tempted to move it up a little bit. I certainly think the horse has some back class, particularly as versus this field. All of that said, 8-5 on the morning line for a trainer who's 0 for 2014. No, thank you. About the 3rd spot is as best as I could get excited about this horse. And I will be very interested to see where the betting public goes, because I find it hard to believe that they'll look at those numbers and go to 8-5 on this one. And that said, I'd be tempted to call this a play of the day with 8-1 as my top pick, 4-1 as my second pick. Take a look. If the morning line holds up, jump in. I just think the betting public will shift around from those morning lines because, again, I cannot see that 3 horse going off at 8-5. But on the numbers, probably deserves to be in the mix. 3rd race today, 1, 2, 3, and 6.
On to the 4th race. Claimers in for 7,500. They're non-winners of 2 races in a lifetime, racing 6 furlongs.
1, 6, 3, and 7. The number 1 is Tactical Pal. Just some nice improving form. Buyer figures are moving in the right direction over the last 3 starts. Gets a little class relief in here. So at 5-1, you combine those 2 factors, the improving form, the class relief. I think this horse is interesting at the price. So Tactical Pal on top. Second spot, the number 6, Mileage Run. Excuse me. Pretty similar to my top pick in that this horse is going well. and gets a little bit of class relief. So combine those two, and this horse is also interesting in here. And then the number 3, Wildcat Drive, gets the class relief that my top 2 are also getting. So it's really kind of a trifecta of class relief kind of plays in here, but I think number-wise and fitness-wise, they all fit, and then you throw in that class relief, they become even more interesting. And then in the 4th spot, I will mention, take a little look at that number 7, Urchy guy, who off of the last one, that 8-1 morning line might hold up, but broke the maiden in a state-bred maiden special prior. Then they stretched out to 2 turns in allowance company. So I think there's 2 factors that play into that really poor performance last time, and that's the 2 turns and the class. I think probably back down to the proper level and proper distance. So if you're getting 8-1 on Urchy guy, that's one that could be a little bit interesting to toss into the mix and play around with a little bit. So in the 4th, 1, 6, 3, and 7.
On to the 5th race, claimers in for $5,000. Non-winners are 2 races. Since, let me get this, 2013 or 2014, dashing 5.5.
And I have it 6, 4, 2, and 9. I'm going to do a little 3-horse exacta box play of the day in here with my top 3. Number 6, Little Dale, bumps up to an N2 calendar condition, but I think fits. This horse has been bouncing around 7,500 non-winners, a 4 lifetime, those 5,001 calendars, and broke through last time that N1 calendar condition. I think did it in such a way and looks to be in form right now that the move up this condition level is not going to prove to be an obstacle. So we'll put Little Dale on top at 6-1. Number 4, Smokin' Hero in the 2nd spot for me. Ran 2nd in a similar race in the 2014 debut. I think this horse should benefit from that race. A repeat or even a little improvement certainly puts this horse right up in the mix. And then in the 3rd spot, the number 2, First Verse. Pretty solid win in a similar event 2 starts back. Ran in a similar event last time and ran an okay 3rd. Again, I'm kind of going back to that 1-2 starts back, but this horse does have some nice early speed. Just looking at the rest of the field, there are a couple others that maybe can compete, but I think this one may be the speed of the speed, and hopefully we'll get back to that race 2 back and the number fired there. So again, I'll go 3 deep. If the morning line holds up, I'd be tempted to go 4 deep. I'm just not quite sure. I particularly am more compelled by my top 3, but the horse I have in the 4th spot, Conflicted, actually beat my 3rd place, the horse I have in the 3rd spot, First Verse, last time. So again, if the morning line holds up in a field of 10, I'd be tempted to go 4 deep. But I'll call it a 3-horse exacta box play of the day, 6, 4, 2, and 9.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, second half of today's action from Finger Lakes.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, and amazing Vegas-style atmosphere. The Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Summer at Saratoga, and there's no better place to watch all the racing action than right here on OTB TV. Each morning, the Handicappers Report brings you selections and analysis from our professional handicappers. Then stick around as the biggest names in racing join us live from the backstretch. The top trainers, jockeys, and racing personalities all share their unique insights and observations. For more than 20 years, there's been just one place to turn for unparalleled coverage of the Saratoga Racing Meet, Capital OTB and OTB TV.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right. The 2014 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes, and a seat at the 2015 Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month's contest is the Firecracker on July 12th. So sign up today, online at capitalotb.com, or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Handicappers Report alongside Seth Merrill. I am Anthony Mormino, taking a look at Finger Lakes this afternoon. We're up to race number 6. Oh, fillies and mares. Optional claimers in for 15. Starter allowance 7, going 6.
I'm going to split up the one entry in here. It's a short field, so I prefer the 1A. So I have it 1A, 2, 5, and the plain 1. So again, I'm splitting them up in case one runs and one doesn't. If they both run, my 4th spot would be the number 4 horse. But the 1A American Trilogy, the only loss this season was a stakes try in the Susan B. Anthony. Other than that, this horse is 3 for 4, or 3 for 3. Other than that one, as I say, undefeated other than that stakes try. And with the optional claim or starter allowance today, I think American Trilogy is in a good spot. Number 2, Wise Awake in the 2nd spot for me. Got some education at this level last time. Good 2nd place finish in a similar event. Buyer figures are moving in the right direction. And then number 5, Prime Mistress in the 3rd spot. Just a horse that's in some pretty good form right now. Nice near miss 2nd behind American Trilogy last time. And by near miss, I mean a nose. So if I like American Trilogy on top, got to toss Prime Mistress into the mix, certainly. And again, this one, if you look at your past performances, was entered not yesterday, it was entered Saturday actually, and did not run, so they preferred this spot. I found that interesting as well. In the 6th today, 1A, 2, 5, and the plain 1.
7th race on the card, optional claimers in for 10, starter allowance 5, also racing a mile and an 1/8.
6, 2, 1, and 5. The number 6 is Goldsome. Won a similar race last time, similar condition-wise. Obviously, we talked a little bit about that mile and an 1/8 being unusual, and yes, this one did go the more usual mile and 70 last time. But it was at this condition. The horse did run in a fashion that says the mile and 1/8 probably is not going to be a big obstacle, kind of stalked and pounced at the top of the stretch. So buyer figures in the right direction, seems in good form, very similar condition last time, and won. All adds up, Goldsome on top. 2nd spot, the number 2, Diamond District. Typically in the hunt, this is a horse that 3 second place finishes in 4 starts. This season, you go back to last year, 6 exacta finishes and 12 starts. So again, it's a horse that more often than not is up there in the mix. Probably should do so again today. I think will be a decent fit with this particular level of competition. And then the number 1, Small Town. I just think, again, this is another horse that should fit with this particular bunch. Ran 4th in a similar conditioned race 2 starts back, 4th behind Goldsome. Last time was in a starter 4,500, ran a good 2nd. But numbers-wise, I think the horse is, again, a decent fit as you look out at the complexion of this particular field. In the 7th this afternoon at Finger Lakes, 6, 2, 5, and 1.
Feature race this afternoon, allowance non-winners of 4, lifetime dashing 5.5.
5, 2, 3, and 6. The number 5 is Layla's Jazz. I'm taking a shot in here, but why not? I think the other half of the Chris Engelhardt non-coupled entry is going to take the action, but that's what intrigued me. We've seen it time and time again. Longer half of the uncoupled entry comes in. This one, Layla's Jazz, 8-1 on the morning line. The other Engelhardt runner, 8-5 on the morning line. And I just think this is the longer half of the entry. 3rd start off a long layoff. Had come up from NYRA to begin the 2014 season off a layoff of over a year. Has shown nice improvement start 1 to start 2. If that continues to progress, again, I find this horse very, very intriguing. Adds the blinkers today, and we'll look for Layla's Jazz to maybe be a little bit of an upsetter in here. 2nd spot, I will use the more logical half of the uncoupled entry. Number 2, Make a Fortune. I think this horse is logical off the claim and the move from NYRA. Chris Engelhardt Picked this horse up from David Jacobson last time for $14,000. Numbers-wise and NYRA class-wise, I think this horse is a very, very good fit in here. So again, 8-5 on the morning line, absolutely logical to be the favorite in here. But I just, again, found it intriguing, the scenario of the longer half of the Engelhardt entry. So I'm an Engelhardt exacta, 5, 2, and then the number 3, Reggie D in the third spot. Got a little bit of an education on the Finger Lakes Strip last time, running third on the move up from NYRA, beaten as the horse running third as the 3-2 choice there, but did have a little trouble breaking slowly. I think Reggie D, again, some education over the track, could be even a little bit more competitive this afternoon. In the 8th, I have it 5, 2, 3, and 6.
And this afternoon's finale, State Bred fillies in for the allowance condition of non-winners of a state bred race other than going a mile.
4, 2, 1, and 7. The number 4 is Jazzington. Just seems to be rounding into some pretty good form. This is the 5th start of the season. Came in from out of town, NYRA and Penn National. The Penn National race is a little bit earlier this winter. Came up here to Finger Lakes, 4 starts now, all exacta finishes, and again, just seems to be in some good form with the numbers moving really in a good direction. So it all adds up to put this one into the top spot. Second spot for me, number 2, Silky Saint. I think this horse is better than that latest effort. Threw in an absolute dud last time, but it has the look to me of an aberration. Then the number 1, Apple Walk. Top pick, my second pick, number 2, Silky Saint. I think this horse is better than its latest effort. Apple Walk, I don't think this horse is as good as its latest effort. They both look like aberrations, but in different directions. So again, I think Apple Walk, off of that last effort, certainly will attract some attention. I just want to see this horse string that number or a similar number together, because again, it was just a little too much of a jump up. Good effort. I think you have to have it in the mix. I just don't know whether it'll be as good as that number indicates coming back today. In the finale, I'm going to do I'm going to call a 4-horse exacta box in here, but it's only a 7-horse field. This is another one of those check and make sure the morning line holds up. I mean, I have 8-1 on Jazzington, 5-2, 9-2, particularly if that 8-1 holds up, and then I have 8-1 on the horse I have in the 3rd spot or 4th spot as well. But it's only a 7-horse field. If those start to float down, it may not make as much sense. So take a look at the will pays and whatnot, but I'll jump in 4 deep based on the morning line with an exacta box in here to wind things up at Finger Lakes. 4, 2, 1, and 7.
And that wraps up our look at Finger Lakes. John Curran going to be on from Delaware later on. All right, a little early sneak preview of racing across America. We'll also get a sneak preview of this afternoon's TV 12 racing thoroughbred action and harness racing for you in just a moment. Who else do you have on Racing Across America as we wait for that data?
Mike Penna from the Horse Racing Radio Network. Always take a look at some of the
Big
stakes
Monday
action with him. We'll talk certainly some of the Belmont Stakes and also Los Alamitos Derby. And we'll have a little discussion about is shared belief now in the picture for maybe a 3-year-old Eclipse.
You know, I think, I go back, I think there's such a divide and the Eclipse Award that is accentuated in the 3-year-old colt division. And what the divide to me is being, well, we'll get to this, Parks and then Suffolk Downs, Finger Lakes, Delaware, Presque Isle, Northfield, Mountaineer, Yonkers, Ocean Downs, Mohawk Harness, Australia A, B, and C. If you missed any of Seth or my selections, please go to the new website, capitalotb.com. Old address, new site. Click on the Handicappers Report. Get all of our selections from Parks and from Finger Lakes. And also, sign up for a new Capital Bets account at capitalotbbet.com. Probably the premier season to set up that new account, a state-of-the-art wagering platform, because once you set up a new account and bet $50, you'll get $50 free to bet with it as you please. And as we mentioned, about 12 days we'll be racing at Saratoga, so about as easy as can be. So that is our capitalotbbet.com. But back to the Eclipse thing, that the 3-year-old colt division has just such a, those who watch racing, as I say, January through December, Monday through Sunday, the us versus the weekend warriors, even less than that. It's so hard for the 3-year-old colt because of the nature of it. Take for example, last year, 3-year-old Phil. It's like, I don't think people follow the Las Virgenes or the Santa Anita Oaks very much, but the mountain that Princess Asilmar had built by winning the Coaching Club, American Oaks, the Alabama, and others isn't as demonstrative as a 3-year-old colt does by winning 2/3 of the Triple Crown. I think that's to the masses. And I think because I think there's many of us, Seth, that think Shared Belief's the most talented 3-year-old. Colt, I just think that he is. I mean, I'm in that camp. I think he's got a world of talent. I don't think we saw the end of it. And I know we're not all big Beyer speed figures, but what was the Derby? A 97 or something? This guy gets 105. He's never been defeated, you know, so on and so forth. I think it's very difficult. I think if you look it up, Seth, Tiz now is one of the few 3-year-olds win a championship that didn't participate in the Triple Crown.
Yeah, but as you say, this guy's undefeated. He's a champion already, so he's bringing a resume to the table that I think will attract some attention potentially from Eclipse voters. And again, it's a situation where we'd have to run the table, or maybe even, as I say, I would think Pacific Classic, the Santa Anita Prep Race, and the Breeders' Cup could get away with maybe 2 of those 3 if the other one was a good effort.
The question to me would be, and we had this question in '87. If Shared Belief, forget running the table, if Shared Belief wins the Pacific Classic and the Breeders' Cup, to me, that annihilates the Kentucky Derby and Preakness. I mean, first off, I think it's pretty clear I don't think much of the Preakness. And the Derby have been negative key races for 20 years. It's like, you beat older horses in the Pacific Classic.
And that's going to play into it, too, what California Chrome does the rest of the year. I mean, if Shared Belief, you know, as I say, maybe gets 2 out of those 3 against older horses, and California Chrome tosses a couple of duds. Resume. Yeah. That could change thinking, too.
Because I'll tell you what, you go back to 1987.
And I don't think that's out of the question.
No, I'm a believer that 1987, I can sit here and tell you as a young man, I think if Java Gold had won the Jockey Club Gold Cup and not got injured that day, he was going to win the 3-year-old championship over Ali Sheba. Java Gold did not run in the Triple Crown. Ali Sheba won 2/3 of the Triple Crown. He was going to do it. But that was an East Coast thing. I mean, he was going to win the Whitney, the Travers, the Jockey Club Gold Cup. That was going to supersede the 3-year-old. But it'll be intriguing the rest of the year. Seth, as you said, I think part of the intrigue for the Travers, based on if the 3-year-olds are hot out in Southern California, the boys, that is, will Untappable take on the remaining boys in the East? I don't think it'll be in the Travers. I think the Haskell 9 furlongs.
And I'm getting, getting a feeling. Well, I was just talking to people last week. I'm not getting a feeling anyway, one way or the other, from the Untappable camp. But to me, and I'm all for, I love when they step out, but to me, Untappable probably makes more sense to take the money and run the two filly races at Saratoga. I think those are just sitting there waiting for, and that's a lot of money. And I think if they want to go against the boys, they could wait and take a shot. Derby? Yeah, take maybe a shot later.
Well, the 2 Saratoga races combined are $900,000. I take my chances running around the track once, but I like 10-to-1 shots. You know, that's it. Up next, Racing Across America. We'll see you next time.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.